Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of today's episode is Standing on My Own 2 Feet, the Case for Bipedalism, or Do Bipeds Really Have More Fun? So, John, we're getting artistic. We have alternative titles to these now.
It's fantastic. We've got subtitles. We're getting as we begin our journey together on the discovery of what it means to be human. We're becoming more complex as humans do. You know, yes. we that's what we do.
I love it when people start bootlegging these episodes. They'll be able to choose their own title, choose one of the alternative titles we have, or use their own titles. So.
Well, to make extra money, especially when we're starting up, I'm going to be selling copies of CDs out of my trunk at Venice Beach. So,
Episode 7.
I've already started burning the CDs, and your titles are so long, it's hard for me to fit them on. I'm writing them on with the marker.
That's a marketing thing. That's like the Clash's 6-album Sandinista album. You know, it's like people have to buy just to figure out what they're listening to. They have to buy multiple copies.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So just to give you an idea about the origins of this week's episode, my wife and I have a treadmill, which a lot of people do. And we try to walk on the treadmill, and which, you know, as often as we can, which means almost
not at the same time. You guys trade off, right?
No, that would be more interesting. Maybe we would walk more that way.
Yeah.
But Mary has found out that every time she walks on the treadmill, she hurts her knees or hurts her back.
Ugh.
And so recently she made the comment to me. She said, "I don't think I know how to walk." So to me, this is serious because in his book, First Steps, the paleoanthropologist Jeremy De Silva actually states that bipedalism, or walking on 2 legs, is a series of controlled falls. In other words,
yes, I've heard that before, that walking is falling.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You fall, you catch yourself, you fall, you catch yourself, you fall, you catch yourself. And I mean, this is kind of when she said, "I don't think I know how to walk." I mean, that's dangerous because there are people who die from falls. 35,000 people a year supposedly die from falls. Is what
from
they say.
Walking falls, or just in general?
Just falls in general. I think it's all like falling in the Grand Canyon is also.
Or what about if you're older and you fall and break your hip and then you die a month later? Right. Is that factored into those 35,000? Because it's not a direct death from the fall, but we all know if you're over 80 and you break your hip, it's over. You know, get ready.
You know, when I wrote down
actually,
you should just have Neptune Society just like on your phone yourself. That's what I do. I'm just ready.
I called the Neptune Society and asked them for some information because I wanted to read. I guess I could have just gone online, but I'm old and they won't stop calling me. They're hardcore.
They just know when you answer, it's like, oh, not time yet. They don't even say anything once they pick it up.
No, they got to get me before. They got to get me to sign on the dotted line.
So anyway, when Mary said that, you know, this is like serious business because bipedalism is probably the adaptation that defines us as humans, or one of the adaptations.
They always say that and opposable thumbs. Those are the 2 things that come out of people's mouths.
Right. And, you know, we started walking on 2 legs probably about 7 million years ago. That's what we think now.
Wow.
So we've had a lot of practice. So for when she said, "I don't think I know how to walk," to me as an anthropologist, it was a cry for help, really, because I realized what she was really saying was, "I wish I hadn't been evolved. I wish I hadn't evolved this way."
Well, yeah, it was basically, you're in the anthropologist's fire station. and an alarm went off, and you put on your anthropologist boots and slid down the brass pole because you're like, woo, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Let's help. How can we help?
Somebody's crying out. They wish we hadn't been evolved. That's like the ultimate, I wish I hadn't been born. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, we as humans, there's a lot of humans out there we need to understand bipedalism.
Yes.
I think, or the importance of bipedalism. And I think there's a lot of people who are bipedalist curious, maybe, but are afraid to ask because they think that maybe it's been around. We've been doing it for 7 million years. I don't want to feel like I don't know what's going on.
Right. You know what I mean? Right. Give me the skinny on my bipedalism. You've got me from jump because as a child, I wore corrective shoes.
Did you?
Because I wasn't walking right, or apparently.
What? Yeah. I mean, was it like towing out, or what was happening?
I don't even know but they were horrible. They looked like, remember those white baby leather baby boots that everybody wore when they were babies? I had to wear those until I was in first grade. It was horrid. Oh my God. Yeah. Horrid. Yeah. This is before I met you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know that. So
yeah.
And you know what? Another thing about you, which I'm going to tell you something about you, which you may not know. You may not know yourself, but I think you have a thing for prehistoric hominids.
Yeah,
because
I do.
Every time you send me an article, it's about prehistoric hominids.
I'm in love with Lucy. I'm attracted to Lucy.
Yeah. So remember a few weeks ago, you sent me an article about some anthropologists in Tanzania, which you've been to Tanzania.
Yes, I have. Dar es Salaam, motherfucker. Yeah.
Good time.
I went to Zanzibar Island.
That's amazing.
And got stoned out of my mind. I mean, it was like the best weed I'd ever had. And I find myself on this highly religious island where I could have been, God knows. Anyway, I survived. It was gorgeous. I recommend it, but don't get stoned. Just go.
Were you No, you were there with your father, right?
Yeah, my father and my brother. Yeah. But you can always get weed. Everybody knows how to buy weed. Just the international, you hold up an invisible, joint to your mouth. Everybody knows, and raise your eyebrows.
Yeah.
And you take it from there.
It's like the stop sign. It's the same. It's the same in every country.
Exactly.
So anyway, you sent me this article, and it was about some anthropologists in Tanzania. They were looking at chimps, a group of chimps that lived in an environment where it was partially wooded, but really it was mostly grassland. And they were trying to figure out if chimps lived in an area with fewer trees, if they would spend more time on the ground, and if they did, would they walk upright?
Right.
And come to find out, no. They didn't. The chimps, even fewer trees, they just spent more in the few trees that were there. They spent just as much time up in the trees as they normally do in a jungle.
Well, it's safer up there,
Exactly.
I get it. But why the hell did we start walking upright? What purpose did it serve?
Yeah, we're going to come up where, we're going to discuss some of the theories about it. But the one thing they did find out in that chimp study is the times that they did see chimps on two legs were up in the trees. So the chimps would stand up there and kind of like scoot out, holding on to a branch above, and then scoot out on two legs to get some
I know that move. I know that move. When I built my treehouse for my kids, I did a lot of that. But with a circular saw in my hand.
Those chimps don't know how lucky they have it.
Oh, they picked a piece of fruit. Okay.
We'll have to put some photos of your treehouse out there. That thing was very impressive.
I will put some in the description.
So, yeah, because you actually have some. Did you feel anything when you were up in the tree? Was there something, some primal?
Yes, it feels right. It feels right to be up in a tree. To me, I think it's incredible. I did some stupid stuff up in that tree, trying to build that tree house, you know?
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved being up in that tree.
Did you rope yourself in, or were you up there
No.
like free climbing?
Free balled. I free balled the whole thing. The whole thing.
35,000 people die of falls every year.
I know. Don't tell me the numbers.
35,001. 35,000.
Well, you know, there's a part of all of us that has the death wish too. You know, I refer to it as Plan Z. You know, which is
run up the credit cards and
yeah, you know. So maybe that was part of it, and I'm a risk taker, as you know. I enjoy the thrill, so yeah, that was part of it.
Adrenaline junkie.
Mm-hmm.
That's you. That's when people ask me about you. I'm like, AJ.
That's why I bungee out of helicopters. That's why I'm a race car driver.
All right, so we're going to talk about bipedalism today, walking on two legs. Mm-hmm. And to get there, to get to the possible theories of why we did it, I think we need to look at or kind of take a look at evolution itself. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take a quick journey back through history to look at some of the major ideas in evolution. And the first
we're headed straight to Easter. We're headed straight to Easter Island. Am I right?
Those giant heads and
those heads. Whenever you talk about evolution, we always end up there.
I think you're talking about the Galapagos.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, right. Yeah, that's what I mean.
I was like, Easter Island. Okay. A little alternative.
I'm sorry.
Alternative science here.
I can't Google and do this at the same time, so I'm lost.
Okay. So in the 1600s, there was a archbishop of the Church of Ireland named James Ussher. Mm. And James Ussher was trying to figure out how old the earth was. So he went to the Bible and he read through the Bible and studied the Bible, all the different talks about generations and everything. And he calculated that the earth began on Saturday, October 22nd, 4004 BC at 6 p.m.
No, that is not true. You ask any Jew, we all know. It's 57. What is it? I don't know. It's 57, I think we're at. I don't know. Anyway,
have you ever counted it up like Ussher did? Have you ever gone in and like?
How did he come to that? Did you say 6 p.m.? So at dusk, but there was no dusk.
Not at that time, but once you make it, then it's 6 p.m. You know,
wow.
It's like
so. Let there be light happened at 6 p.m. Oh, wait, are we talking the Big Bang? That's so he's saying the beginning of everything, started at 6 p.m. Wow,
right?
All right.
Based on the Bible.
Why not?
And so the thing is, you know, I love the 6 p.m. It kind of reminded. I think there was a Monty Python, wasn't it, in Life of Brian or something, where it was like, you know, 3380 around tea time or something like that. But so 6 p.m. So he came up with this idea, 4,000-year-old world or existence was 4,000 years. And the problem with that is that people started discovering fossils, and they started discovering like geological formations that definitely looked like they were older than 4,000 years old.
Right.
And so one of the first controversial ideas was by Robert Hooke in the 1600s. And he said that the fossils that they found were actually the remains of extinct animals. And people were like going crazy.
Yeah. He was like, wait. Yeah. Because up until then, they thought that all the animals that were currently on the planet had always been on the planet.
Right. Exactly. God had created it. It was perfect. There was you can't say that they became extinct.
But God, you look at some of those scarabs, those weird fossils that look like beetles. Yeah. I don't know what those are called. You know, Tripolipicus or anyway, right away those aren't around.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not hard to realize that there was crazy stuff around before us.
Yeah, so people didn't really know where it fit into kind of the biblical idea of the history of Earth. And then in the 1700s, there was a French naturalist named Georges Cuvier who came up with the idea of catastrophism. And what Cuvier said was, well, all of these, the landscape changes and all of these like gaps that we have in the fossil record, they're all the result of natural catastrophes of divine origin. I.e., Noah's flood, volcanoes, earthquakes. And so what Cuvier was saying was, well, God created it. And then when he realized it wasn't as good as what he thought it was, he was like, fuck it.
Yeah, let's go to Earth version 2.7. Now. Right. It's just like the iPhone. It's just like the iPhone.
Yeah. Just tear it off. You just tear that sheet off the pad and start over.
Yeah. You know? Do we really need the button at the bottom? No.
That's what God was doing. And then in the 1700s, we get Georges Buffon, who stated that the Earth...
I love it when you speak French. It's just... It gets me every time.
Just names. Just names.
Anything.
Georges Buffon. And he stated that the Earth actually changed gradually. And that was something new, too, because they thought, again, God created it in 6 days or whatever. Right. On the seventh day, he rested. So for Buffon to say that it was gradual was revolutionary in a sense.
Yeah.
But again, Buffon kind of chickened out at the end.
I was about to say, I bet he got the shit beat out of him for this one.
a bunch of priests.
If I were Buffon's buddy, I'd be like, dude, don't be saying that real loud.
Yeah. There's a bunch of priests and monks outside that are waiting for us. So what he said is like, well, there were actually 6 epochs or epochs, and each of them were kind of matching the biblical idea of a day, and each of those epochs were 1,000 years. So in other words, he was still trying to keep it within like, well, yeah, it was 6 days, but a day for God is actually 1,000 years.
I've been in situations like that. Where I'm pitching something, I'm pitching a script idea or something, and they're like, and they point out a big flaw that I didn't see. And so the backpedaling begins. No, right. No. What if we... I'm right there with Buffon.
Well, that's the class we need to give. Is how to backpedal in the middle of a presentation.
That is, you said it, brother.
That's a useful skill right there, I think.
Yep.
And also in the 1700s, we had James Hutton, who was a Scottish geologist. He's the father of modern geology. And he said that the Earth, he kind of like with Buffon, he was like, yeah, the Earth changed gradually, but it was through natural processes like wind, erosion, rain. And he actually said the Earth was hundreds of thousands of years old.
Whoa.
So he's pushing it way back. And again, kind of hedging his bets, he's like, well, yeah, God created the Earth, but they couldn't get away from it. You know what I mean?
It's like that. You better put that footnote on there unless you want to be strung up.
Yeah. So God created the world or the Earth, but all of these geological processes are part of God's plan. So God gave those. So perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
And then in the early 1800s, we have Charles Lyell, who English geologist said, and this seems like obvious now, but he said, the present is the key to the past. And that was just like you could see him like in a classroom or like, yeah, Charles, give a toast or something. And
yeah. If he had a website, that would be on the first page.
Yeah.
That's his brand.
T-shirt. On the
T-shirt, all of it. Yep.
But one of the important thing Lyell came up with was the idea of uniformitarianism.
God, this is ringing a bell. I think I learned this in a class in college.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
This is all ringing a bell from I took an anthropology intro to Anthro. I think I told you. Yeah, I did. And I loved it. But then when you get to the very end and they say, oh, we don't know any of this for sure.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, shit. Okay. I wish you'd give me that up front.
Yeah, I've TA'd classes like that where people would ask questions and I'd be like, we don't know. It would drive certain people crazy.
But yeah, and as I've gotten older, I love that. That gives it depth and weight when you don't know. That's the I don't know is where it's at.
Yeah. But you have to be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You have to be comfortable with that, not knowing. And people who are into math, for example, would always have trouble with it because they'd be like, but it's got to be an answer.
Yeah, but you dig down into math, you're going to find the same thing. Look at a summation formula or factorals or all that stuff. It doesn't. When you get down to the end, it's just great. And everybody's like, I don't know, string theory.
So let's turn around and go back.
We don't know.
So uniformitarianism said that the processes that affected the Earth in the past are still affecting the Earth today. So that's what he meant by the present is the key of the past. So you have to look at what's going on now, and then you can kind of take like, okay, we see rain kind of washing things away. That must have happened in the past. And then we can like look at the geological record and see.
Yeah. There was a moth. Wasn't there a moth during the turn of the century that started to the white moths started disappearing because of all the coal smoke in England.
Yeah.
So the black ones lived and the white ones were easily eaten by the birds because they stuck out like sore thumbs.
Yeah.
That's using the present, to see it. How often does that happen? How about me pulling that one out of my butt? Huh? Not bad.
Like, that's really, I remember. Yeah, you did take a class.
Yeah, the student's becoming the teacher here.
You've been testing me. I feel like I've been, I'm going to start backpedaling. I'm backpedaling now. I need that class of yours.
No, you're doing great. You're way ahead.
So anyway, Lyell, his idea was millions of years old. He thought the Earth was millions of years old. So he kind of pushed it way back. And then the idea is, how does that factor into biology? What were the biologists saying at that time? What were the theories of evolution? And we get to Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, who is a French naturalist.
Love
it. Lamarck said that organisms are always in flux. They're always changing. And he used the term transmutation. Meaning that was kind of like the early term for evolution, but he said transmutation.
This is ringing a bell.
Stop me if you've heard this. I mean,
no. Let's do it. I mean, I know where you're going with all of this, but let's continue just for the people out there.
If you start completing my sentences, uniformitarian, transmutation.
That hasn't happened since we were both drinking.
Yeah. I could just shut up and let you talk for me. I didn't have to say anything. Just move my lips. So Lamarck said for him, evolution or transmutation was a continual upward movement. So there were some changes, but we were always evolving up. Wow. So there was spontaneous generation of organisms. Down from inorganic matter, so like dirt and mud, they would just spontaneously come into being, and then they would start the evolution upwards to, of course, the apex, humans.
Always with the humans at the top.
Can't get over ourselves. Yeah. And then at that point, humans, once our mass reached the point where we died, it would go back to inorganic matter, and then the whole thing would start over again.
Well, that part's true. I mean, we're seeing that the Earth is going to kick us off this thing.
Yeah.
Unless we move to Mars or something.
So also what he said is animals can never become extinct because they're always. You start at the animals that are the simplest animals, like amoebas, have recently become recently spontaneously created, and then they're slowly becoming humans. So there's no extinction in animals. We're always evolving upwards.
I like that.
It's kind of nice, I think.
Yeah,
and
me too.
The major thing he came up with was the idea of the inheritance of acquired characteristics. And that was environments are always changing.
Right.
And animals must will their bodies to adapt to the environment.
He lost me. I've been trying to will myself to be 6 feet tall.
That's essentially what it is. It's like the environment changes. Like you keep, like a giraffe keeps reaching for the upper trees, and when within its lifetime, its neck gets longer. Because
that gets passed down to the next one, which neck gets a little longer, and so forth.
Right.
Well, he's not way off the mark. He's just he just doesn't. It's self-will. That's a dead end. Trust me on that one.
So that was the problem that people had. I mean, he's saying anything that you acquired during your lifetime, you would pass on to your kids. So the critics of that theory is,
God, I hope that's not true. Please tell me I'm not going to pass this on to my kids.
I don't know. I mean, Lamarckian evolution may come back. You never know. But,
Jesus.
But what he said, so for example, like blacksmith, this is the thing people would always say to him, is be like, well, blacksmiths acquire big muscles during their lifetime, but their kids, their babies don't have big muscles when they're born.
Right.
So that was like one of the big I got you, Lamarck.
Well, that's kind of an easy one to unravel his theory, right? I mean, that's like his whole theory was made of cards. If any idiot could say, "What about blacksmiths? They don't have it." Boom. Any idiot, even I could come up with that one.
What about blacksmiths? So anyway, but nobody had another idea for 100 years, 150 years. That was like the best thing.
I can relate to that. I haven't had an idea for a good 7 years. Wow, for 100 years, really? Nothing really
like 150 years. That was like the best people could come up, because it was, like you said, it was almost there. It was like, okay, it's the environment and they're changing for the environment. It was just the part about it happens in their lifetime.
People were like, all right, that's good enough. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we don't need to know.
We don't need to. That's enough.
Yeah. So then in 1859, we get Charles Darwin.
Here we go.
Who comes up with on the origins of species by means of natural selection.
And he wasn't at Easter Island. He was in the Galapagos.
It was the Galapagos. I was going with you wherever you wanted to go with that.
I don't know.
I was like, Easter Island? Okay. All right. I'll go there.
You're a wonderful man. I want everyone to know.
We should also say Alfred Russel Wallace also published Natural Selection. And he had actually published his about a year earlier than Darwin.
Why is that always the case? Why, the inventor of the radio, somebody else had done it right before, the movies, then all the discoveries. Why? What's going on there?
I think there's no original ideas.
Right.
Myself, I think everybody's got the same material to work with, and everybody can come up with the same idea. I mean, it's just like you think you have a really good script or something, and then you get ready to go pitch it or something.
Everybody and their cousin. Yeah. Right. It's like we're standing on the shoulders. We're all standing on the shoulders of those before us. And so it's just a matter of time before somebody's going to come up with the next theory. The evolution of theory is in itself active. That's what it's all about. There's a theory right now that humans are ready to invent that'll change the world, that any of us could come up with what's going on in the world. And the key is some of us just aren't, like me, just not smart enough to. I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to play video games. Somebody else will come up with it.
You could. Maybe it's while you're playing video games, you'll come up with it. You should.
I don't know.
Keep a tape recorder or your phone next to you, just in case. I really feel confident that I think it's going to be you. I think it's going to be you.
I wouldn't bet on me.
So anyway, but Wallace had already come up with the same idea, and it was after he came up with it. Somebody was like, "Hey, Darwin, you better go publish your thing." Wallace,
hey, buddy, hurry it up.
So it's kind of like coming in afterwards, you know what I mean? It's the song.
There's another
Somebody's already written it.
Dystopian franchise being pitched. You better get it together.
Exactly. So natural selection, in a nutshell, is variation in species exists, meaning that we have different, variables, different characteristics in the same species. And some variation, by chance, leads to an increased advantage in certain environments.
Yeah.
And the important thing is that it's by chance.
By chance.
Yeah. So like you were talking about the moths, the white moth used to be the moth that was all around. There were also darker moths. And just by chance, when all that coal dust came, that darker moth was better camouflaged. And by chance, darker moths began to survive. It was harder for birds to see them. So that gave them an advantage.
Right.
And then those who survive are more likely to pass on those adaptations to their offspring.
Right.
So the dark moths, because they survived, are passing on the dark moth gene to their offspring.
Yes. God, it's such a beautiful thing, isn't it? And it takes so long. We're talking long. I mean, that's what's so amazing about it.
Yeah. And again, going to
thousands and thousands and millions of years.
Yeah. And it's probably happening right now. Like, I wonder what advantage we have. Probably people who can use computers, who can use video games, probably have a competitive edge.
Well, they say we're getting taller. You hear that a lot, that humans are getting taller, slowly taller.
Yeah.
They're living longer because of, but we don't have any saber-toothed tigers out there taking out the weaklings. So, like, no offense, but Mary, she never would have made it. If a saber-toothed tiger, sorry, that's my dog barking in the back. But if there was a saber-toothed tiger chasing Mary, chances are good.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Mary. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anything to happen to her, but let's be honest.
Well, we may have.
If she didn't know how to walk, there's a saber-toothed tiger who's going to take her right out of the gene pool.
Well, I see how you in our tribe. I see how you in our pack. You better not get hurt. Old alpha male there is on his way. He's already
old silverback.
Old silverback's up the tree already and kicking this all back down.
I would have been dead long before Mary. One of those giant sloths would have taken me out. You ever see those? Those things are huge. Those sloths that existed. They were the size of trucks. Sloths.
Just slowly tracking you. Years you get away from it.
It's like you're being tailed, and I'm like the bunny running. But pretty soon that sloth is going to get me.
Like 35 years later, when you're asleep, it just pounces on you. It finally made it. Finally caught up to you. So with that background, I think we have a basis for evolution now.
Yes, we do. Well done.
So,
fascinating.
What we're asking now is, when it comes to bipedalism, why did our primate ancestors start walking on two legs? What advantage did walking on two legs give them?
Yeah.
And why was it so important that walking on two legs was passed down? That advantage was passed down to all of their descendants, including us right now.
Can I offer my theory before you? Yeah. I think it makes our butts look nicer. And that makes us more attractive somehow.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Everybody's an ass person, ass man, ass woman. And I think standing up, it's like when people wear high heels, the reason high heels are popular is because it tightens the butt, firms up the legs. Standing up, when we were bending over, we were showing our red stuff too much, And then all of a sudden, some tall, standing on two legs, those guys who that
you know what?
Like, whoa.
I said it about 10 minutes ago, but I think you found this is your idea. This is your idea.
This is the idea?
This is
mankind?
Darwin point 2. It made our butts look better. I love it. I love it. I mean, I was sitting around the campfire. You'd be like, stand up and be like,
Oops, I dropped my rock. Let me bend over and grab it.
I love it. I love it. So, moving on. So the truth is, we really don't know. Although that theory, John, is as valid as any other theory that's out there.
I'm standing by it.
I like that one. It's got some sex appeal. It's got some sex appeal.
Which is, it's all about sex. It's all about survival and sex. That's everything, right? It has to be one or the other.
I think you've nailed it. I think you've nailed it. Here, we'll get to some of the other, but this is no less valid than any other.
Well, when you go to the zoo and you see the monkeys walking around, what's the first thing you notice? They're ugly butts, and that they throw poo at us. But they're ugly butts. So I think that's where I'm going.
Walking upright makes the butt look better.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you
everybody loves a nice butt. Everybody. Do you love a nice butt?
I mean, I'm part of everybody, aren't I? I mean, yes, I do.
Me too.
You need to write this up, put it in a journal, get some artistic photos, maybe some sketches.
Yes. You could handle that. You're a good drawer.
So the idea is, honestly, we really don't know. We don't know why humans started. There's a lot of hypotheses. You've heard one already here tonight.
Are they faster? Are we faster standing up?
Not really. And even they've found that we're a lot slower. So it doesn't, and even like if you were looking at the predators at the time, the predators would probably be running like 40 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour. And humans, I think Usain Bolt ran at like 28 miles an hour or something. Yeah. So even most people, even at that time, being only about 3 foot tall, there's no way you could outrun it. So we don't know. That's one of the theories, but we don't know why. Weird. Yeah. So again, it's like, why did we do it? And the other thing is, how do we even tell people walked on 2 legs at that time?
Right.
Which is,
here we go. I bet there are some footprints.
Well, there are totally footprints. You can tell that they were walking upright. The other thing you can do is you can look at a skull and you look at that hole in the bottom of the skull, the foramen magnum. And if it sits right underneath the skull, then you can kind of tell like it was propped up on somebody that was walking upright.
Wow.
For like chimps, the skull, that foramen magnum in the bottom of the skull is usually towards the back because the spine is coming out towards the back. The other thing you can look at is like human skulls. Once you start walking upright, get those kind of S curve in it, or a couple of curves in it. And chimps and apes have just one curve, just one.
We have 2,
right?
And every chiropractor will tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. If you want for follow up for extra credit, go to a chiropractor. Better yet, if you can, get a chiropractor to buy you a free dinner and try to sell you on his services.
And tell him to crack both curves in your S. Crack them both.
What's interesting is human babies, when they're born, have just that one single curve.
Yeah.
Kind of like a chimp. Yeah.
And then that second one forms later on. Okay, how about this as a theory? It's so weird. It's so weird to be upright that it freaked other animals out and actually more survived.
that is one of the things people have. Another theory is that it was a way to make ourselves look bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, at that time, we were about 3.5 feet tall. I don't know how much bigger. We were scaring off squirrels.
Weird. It's like, what the hell is that thing? You know, if I'm a saber-toothed tiger and I've been, eating four-legged creatures running around and suddenly I see this thing waddling at me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might just not kill that one and kill the other one that's walking on four legs.
Or just kind of play with that one that's on two legs and kind of bat it around a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's get into the theories. And you can just kind of give me because I could tell, I mean, you've already given us some of your background and your theories.
Well, thank you.
So here are some, and I'll just ask for your opinion.
Yeah. Be happy.
One is called the carrying hypothesis. Carrying, carrying. And that was walking on two legs freed up our hands so we can carry things.
Yeah.
Like food, children. When you're out on the grassland, you could free hands.
I guess so. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that does make but how does that evolve? Because did we invent tools that far in advance?
Well,
before we walked upright?
Well, they have found some tools that have gone back earlier than Homo habilis, which is who we thought was the earliest hominid to use tools. But the thing is, there are theories that say, well, it was the fact that our hands were free that then we could use tools to kind of like.
Oh, I see.
But the thing is, Darwin used to say that there were three characteristics of humans: tool use, bipedalism, and small canine teeth. And what we find is that other animals use tools, not just chimps, but like birds.
Right. Yeah.
And also birds walk on two legs, so they're bipedal as well. So
they really sure are.
All we have left are our small canine teeth.
That's so weird, which do nothing for us.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Except you can glue vampire fangs onto them for movies, and it looks fantastic.
How many?
That's the one thing.
Caveman teeth. Do you still have your caveman teeth?
I do. I do have them. I'll dig those up for another. Yes, I do. I have my practice teeth. They gave us teeth to practice with, to practice talking, because it was really hard. But the actual show teeth were very expensive. Very expensive.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And
do you think
my bottom practice teeth are broken because my son, when he was really young, got a hold of them and broke them and put them in his mouth.
Do you think somebody still has your show teeth? Are they in a museum?
For sure. They were thousands of dollars. Nobody'd throw them away.
Really?
Yeah. There was a teeth guy. There was a guy who actually reminded me a little bit of you. He reminded me. He looked a little like you. Just reminded me a little bit of you. But he was the teeth guy, and he would show up just with the teeth. That was his job. Yeah. And then at the end of the shoot, I'd spit him out and he'd into the thing and he'd walk away with them.
That is like me. Because I love teeth. I've always loved teeth.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Like my doppelganger. We'll have to get him on. Talk about teeth.
And when we carved jack-o'-lanterns, you would always carve them with a full set.
Yeah, full on. I'd make them out of like dried corn and put them in there like dentures.
It's amazing.
George Washington. Working dentures on my jack-o'-lantern. So the next one, you've already mentioned the vigilance hypothesis. And that is standing upright lets us see farther and look for predators.
Ooh.
How does that?
Yeah, okay. I guess so. I guess because we're talking about thousands of years. That's the thing. That's the trip of evolution is we cannot conceptualize how long and slow this process is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculously slow. So over time, I guess people who could do more of that.
Kind of stand up over the grass and you can see like a saber-toothed tiger coming at you or
they'd
something.
be the first to start running.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Mary, would be
just lay down.
All you got to do is beat Mary and you're going to survive. Really. It's like It's like when people say, "Why should I get dogs for my house?" Well, if a dog barks, the burglar is going to go to the next house. They're going to go to the easier house. That's the theory. So yeah, you just got to beat one of those hominids, and you're going to survive.
Yeah. Some people have said, well, yeah, you could see the predator by standing up, but also you're more visible to the predator. Like it might be better for you to stay lower.
Oh, I see.
Fours. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you get a jump start, that's, because you're hanging out in groups.
Right.
So the saber-toothed tiger is going to get the one that's not the slower one.
I'm getting an insight into you in case in case it's ever like Road Warrior or something, like the apocalypse comes. I'm going to be like, that guy is going to like screw us there. Keep an eye on him.
I'm all talk because I'll be the first one to die. Because look at me, I'm weak and slow, and I like to talk. Hey, you guys, let's figure that. I'd be like trying to talk my way out of it, which doesn't work in the Road Warrior post-apocalyptic world.
You got a nice ass, and that gives you a competitive advantage. I hear
that is true.
Okay, so the next one is the heat dissipation hypothesis, and that is that it was very hot on the savannas, and when you are on all fours, you had more of your back exposed.
Okay.
And you got hotter. So by walking upright, less of your body is exposed to the sunlight. And so therefore you could keep your brain cooler, you could stay cooler by walking upright.
What do you think of that one?
It's the most kind of scientific, I think, because you
like that one.
Test that one. I don't know. It makes the most sense to me. But because it makes the most sense to me, I'm suspicious of it for some reason.
Does it make more sense than aliens landing and forcing us to walk on our feet to look like them?
Well, when you put it that way, played your ace. You played your ace, didn't you?
Yep. Boom.
I'll come back to that one. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, the alien one, it's always possible. Possible.
It's always in there.
Let's see. Some of the other ones, the social display hypothesis, and that by walking upright, you could somehow, kind of like what you were saying, kind of like you like the alphas, or maybe even some of the members of the group would stand upright to kind of like, hey, settle down, you guys, and kind of like,
and everybody be like, God, look at his ass. Let's settle down. Right? That's what we're saying.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to get to the last one, which is the sexual hypothesis.
Okay, here we go.
And you've kind of already talked about some of this. But it was more not the ass for this one, but it was the male genitalia. By walking upright, they thought, well, you could see it more.
No.
Females.
No. Because I'll tell you why I'm going to say no on this one. Nobody, gay, straight, male, female, nobody likes to see a scrotum. Nobody.
Yeah.
So
have you ever been? Have you ever been to Burning Man? Have you heard like the shirt cock? Have you ever heard about the shirt cocks?
No, what's that?
A shirt cock. Apparently, I've never been to Burning Man, but somebody was telling me about. But it's guys that go around just with their pants off and with a t-shirt on.
Oh boy!
And they call them shirt cocks.
Oh boy!
That would be. That's the equivalent of this, I think.
You know what? I'm never going to Burning Man. And I'm not gonna. Just the sand.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Ooh, camping with that sand. Have you ever camped on the beach? Ooh, I hate it.
Ooh. Yeah.
All that sand gets you in your sleeping bag. It's horrible.
And just hearing it at night when it's like hitting, like you're out on the beach camping and you just hear that sand hitting your tent on the outside.
And then the flip-flopping of the shirt cocks running by.
Just a herd of shirt cocks.
Well, they just like.
So, kind of with your idea about the ass, though, Nancy Makepeace Tanner, who is a anthropologist as well, she said that walking upright made it harder for men or males of the species, and we're talking about 7 million years ago, to tell when a woman or a female was in estrus. Because usually on chimps, it's very easy for male chimps to know when a female chimp is in estrus. And so then by walking upright, it was harder for the males to tell when the female was in estrus, ready to mate. And so therefore the females had more power, is what Makepeace says. Makepeace Tanner says, is that they had more power because the males couldn't tell when they were ready to mate. And so the females would have to pick the male to mate at that point.
That's interesting. I like it. I like it.
The other...
It's also easier to punch down at somebody and kill somebody, I think, if they're on all fours and you're standing up and you've got a rock or something. I guess that goes to the first one where you could carry stuff.
Yeah.
Because if I've got a club and I can stand up and you've got a club and you can't stand up as much as I can, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. I mean, but then don't get me wrong.
You think about like chimps, though. Chimps and gorillas, though, are like extremely strong.
Yes.
So, and they're still on all fours and can move very quickly. So,
right. I'm just saying somebody who can stand up a little longer in the fight, right? Isn't that what we're talking about? Overtime, right. Right. I don't know.
I mean, it's...
We need to go back in time. That's...
So, kind of in conclusion, I guess, we've reached the end of this journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Why did we start walking on two legs? To show off our asses.
Yeah. After discussing all of them, I'm sticking with mine. I'm sticking with it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's as good as any, actually, when you listen to them. But again, we don't really know. We don't know why. There's no conclusive theory or hypothesis as to why we started walking upright.
Well, it's too late now because we've fucked the gene of walking on all fours out of our systems. Wow.
Tell it like it is.
Well, that's what evolution is, right? I mean, they all it's too late now. We can't go back. Is all I'm saying.
Right. Exactly. I as I was researching I was thinking about the time where, like, you were in a group, say 8.5 million years ago, and there's that one guy who starts walking upright. You know what I mean? There would be like a few members of the group would be walking upright. Some members wouldn't, and it must have been very awkward at that time.
Oh God, it's like middle school. My mother took tetracycline when she was pregnant with me, and so. This is another story before you, but although I think you know this story. Before, up until I got my permanent teeth in, my adult teeth, my teeth were all purple.
Really?
That's what happens if you take tetracycline. A mother takes it when she's pregnant. The kid is born for some reason, and I guess the bones are purple too. Yeah. They're also extra strong. I never got any cavities. That's the upside, but the downside was that everybody made fun of me and my purple teeth. What's wrong with your teeth? What's wrong with your teeth? And that must have been what it was like for the guys who couldn't stand up. The guys who could stand up and be like, what, you can't stand up? Oh my God, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Oh, I never knew. That is awful.
It was awful. The corrective shoes and the purple teeth.
Wow. Let me see your teeth now. Let me see them. Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Didn't hold
They're not perfect. If you got really close up, you could still see there are striations. That's from the tetracycline. It's still to this day. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So anyway, as for my wife and walking, I hear you. I understand you wish we hadn't been evolved this way, but you know what? You got to play the hand you're dealt. Like you say, John, it's too late.
It's too late. We all screwed the four-leggedness out of us. We've made our bipedal bed and we have to sleep in it.
Amen, brother.
And maybe you should try swimming. Swimming's great, by the way.
Oh, kind of going back to aquatic.
Yeah, it's fun. It feels good. It's meditative and it exhausts you, man. But you got to go to the gym.
Yeah,
unless you guys want to install something in your garage,
just like a big tub out there, a cattle tank.
Pool. Yeah.
John, any final thoughts? As we
I'm very happy. I want to thank everybody for going on this bipedal journey with us this week, and I guess this is human number 2 signing off.
And this is human number 1, and thank you again for listening. And we will see you later on down the road of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you, John.
Bye.